Comparative Revenue Report. My name is Jenny Cooper. I've done several of these. You've heard and seen me on these webinars, so my voice should be nothing new to you guys. I was a tech for 2 years in Paladin, and now I am a digital marketeer as well as the company's travel agent. So I've kind of shifted gears a little bit. However, I want to present this webinar to you, make sure you guys are good to go with this report. Chad Klein, excuse me, Chad Klein is my organizer. He'll be assisting me in answering any questions as well at the end. We've got plenty of time for that. This webinar is going to be a bit short and sweet, but I want to make sure that you guys fully understand this report and have the opportunity to ask any questions at the very end if need be. Chad, if you could go ahead and start that recording for me, that would be great.
There you go.
Thank you so much. And if there's a pause in the recording, excuse me, I've got a bit of a sore throat and a cough, so sorry if I cough in your guys' ear here. So as we stated, this webinar is Beyond Compare, Understanding Your Period Comparative Revenue Report. The technical level on this is fairly easy. Now what we're going to do, excuse me, what we're going to understand in these webinars and go over is the complete breakdown of this report. I've got some visuals for you. I'm also going to show you how to run this report if you're not aware of what this report is. We're also going to talk about our feature, how we can actually export and then import into QuickBooks. And what I want to do, I want to break down the columns and the areas in the report and where they go, where they'll land in your QuickBooks, so you can have a better understanding of that if need be. And we're going to show off that comparison as well between the two and kind of what those values mean again as well. And then of course we're going to have lots of rooms for questions. I'm really going to take my time with this breakdown because we've got the time to spare. So I really want to make sure that you guys fully understand this report. This report can get very complex. However, the few key pieces that you need in the data, I really want to hit and hammer down. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to have the breakdown of the Period Comparative Revenue Report. So what I want to do is bring up the Period Comparative Revenue Report. Actually, first let me switch gears. I'm going to show you how to run the Period Comparative Revenue Report inside Paladin here. Okay, so we're going to start out in the Reports module. Here's the main screen of Paladin, Reports, Sales Analysis, Revenue. And then here you're going to see Period Comparative Revenue. You're going to hit Next, and then here's where you're going to add to the specifics, your date range. Since it is a period, you can go for the whole year, you can go for a whole month, you can even go just for a day if you'd like. And then as you can see, you can do it very specifically of a terminal employee. And then also over here, detail by, whether it be by department, primary supplier, or classes. All right, so that's how you run it. So I'm going to pull up the one that I have here that I've already ran. Now it's going to automatically run in a PDF format for you. Okay. It may look slightly different depending on the version of Adobe that you have. This happens to be Adobe Acrobat Reader DC on Windows 8, so the text looks a little bit different. So this is the Period Comparative Revenue Report. Now, for this case, I ran this fake data and this test data, okay, from January 1st to current, which is data through today. There's a couple of different spots that I want to break down, and I really, really want to go over with you guys. That way there is clarification. Okay. First, there's a difference. We've got your revenue sources, and then we have your cash sources. Okay, there is a difference. The revenue is the money that you're actually, excuse me, collecting as revenue, meaning you may not have physically collected any money, but it is a source of revenue. So like charge, you haven't collected the money yet, but it is going towards revenue. Credit card, it may not be in your bank yet, but they have paid for it, so it is revenue that it will eventually go into your bank. And then we have cash sources. So cash sources are literally just that. It's money you have physically collected. The actual cash, any checks that you have, and then also any ROAs, as you can see towards the bottom. Okay, that's money that has been collected right then and there. So a couple of things that I want to point out. Excuse me a second. Goodness, okay, so a couple of things. Your gross. just in case, you'll notice these two are different, your net and your gross, just in case you are not aware. Okay, your gross is your total revenue, including negative sales. Your negative sales are going to be your returns. Okay, just to clarify that terminology there. And then this here, as you can see, I did go ahead and do a return to 99. So that's where your returns or your negative sales is going to go. Okay, this is this period. And then if you notice last year as well, so you have a good comparison of how you were doing last year versus this year. And these boxes still line up. It's all the same. Okay. Now, one thing that I used to get phone calls on all the time being in tech support was this number here, customer count. Excuse me, customer count is actually not a customer count. What this is, it's the number of invoices that you have processed through Paladin. Keeping in mind that one customer can actually have 2 different invoices, depending on the transactions that they do. So just to clarify that, again, it states that it is customer count. What it actually means is the number of invoices that Paladin has processed throughout the day. Okay, so just because, for example, on 12, that does not mean you have actually helped 12 customers today. It means you've done 12 invoices today. And then over here, under the cash sources, this discount button, or this discount field, rather, this is going to record every time a discount is given for when you're in the invoice and quote module and you go to make an account payment. It shows discount allowed, and you can put information in there. I did this as an example. I put $2 in there, and then sure enough, it shows up. And then we've got down here at the bottom, okay, the tax detail. The biggest thing that you want to take away from this is understanding that you cannot simply take this number or this number and multiply it by your tax to get this number. So let's say you have 10% New York State tax. You can't multiply this by 10% and this number will come out. Okay, just understand that. There are too many variables involved when it comes to this. Just because it's got New York State tax doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have county tax or some sort of city tax as well. There's a lot of different variables as far as that goes, and it also doesn't mean the whole invoice was taxed. Maybe just certain items were taxable. So just understand that you will almost never get the exact number when you take this number and then you multiply it by the taxes. It's something that we're working on to try to get it a little more accurate to where you can, but it's not available quite yet, so just understand that when you go and do these things. And then here on your number of items, this is going to be the number of items that have been sold within that department. So for example, there's been 1 customer rewards that have been sold. Excuse me. So that's kind of the general breakdown of this report. You've got your basic stuff up here, you know, your search criteria and things like that. If you have any employees or terminals that would have been specified for this report, it would be there. It's also going to show the exact time and date that it was ran and when it was, or excuse me, who it was ran by. Excuse me. All right, and then now the report values that you can use inside QuickBooks. This is going to look a little intimidating with the breakdown, but it's really not that bad, I promise. So this is the General Ledger Mapping Guide. Charles Owen actually made this, I think, a year or 2 ago. So this here, the Paladin General Ledger export file. This is the file that you go into, for those of you that are familiar with how to do this, and if you're not, you go inside Paladin, you go to Data Viewer, and then you scroll down and you're going to see a tab. This is QuickBooks, and you can import and export the information, and it's going to have all of your general ledger information, which is really all you need inside QuickBooks to get your everyday balancing done. So just so you understand the difference, or rather the comparison of the Period Comparative Revenue Report, the fields, and where it goes for this general ledger, so you kind of know what you're looking at when it comes to your general ledger, where the numbers are coming from, and then also where it's going to transfer into QuickBooks. So right here under your cash sources, under your revenue report, number 1, that's going to go right up here in your debit column for your cash. Number 2, your charge card is right here. And then it goes so on and so forth down the line. Number 3, your check is going to be your check under your cash sources here. Now, this piece I'm going to leave up here for a little bit so you can also read it. You also will be able to pause this webinar at any given time if you need to write this down. If you guys want a copy of this, it is available in a knowledge base, which I will get the exact knowledge base name to you at the end of this webinar. So this information will always, always, always be available to you. Okay. And then we're going to go back. All right, so like I said, this is kind of a short and sweet webinar because there's a lot of information to cover. So I wanted to leave plenty of time for questions. Kathy, do you have any questions about any of this stuff?
I don't think we have any questions at this time.
It doesn't look like it. Okay, so that's all I have for you guys today. Another thing that I do want to point out that it's now come to our attention, we have some customers out there that still have the Windows operating system of XP. Running servers and some of their workstations. So the reason I'm bringing this to everyone's attention so they can hear this later on if they choose to listen to this webinar, the new general release just came out. After this general release, so from here on out, unfortunately, XP computers will no longer be getting those updates. We can no longer write to XP machines. They're just too old. So what's going to happen is Paladin will never update from here on out, including your servers and your workstations. Now what that means is you're not going to be getting any of the new, fun, cool, and very valuable features that are going to be coming out. It also means that eventually, if Paladin doesn't update over a certain amount of time, it just won't open because it's too old. So you can probably get away with it for a little bit, but not for very long. So we want to start warning our customers and talking to them now and get them updated as soon as we can as far as that goes. And we also have computers on sale. So get a hold of us, talk to our customer support team, or go on to paladinpointofsale.com and you can get things ordered as far as that goes, because we want you to be able to use Paladin in the best way possible. And we do that by getting you your new features and your new updates. So that's what I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.